Romain Grosjean's F1 career was marked by a series of unfortunate events, but his life changed on a fatal day in Bahrain. They say luck evens out over time, but just 28 seconds, which is a fleeting moment to us, was a lifetime to Grosjean, forever defining his life on the racetrack. Grosjean was trapped, his foot was stuck under the gas pedal, and something solid pressed down upon him. Slowly, he began to feel warmth, which escalated into a frightening reality. Disoriented, Grosjean opened his eyes, struggling to comprehend what was happening. Maybe I'm upside down, he thought, or pinned against the wall. Rescue teams would arrive soon, as they always did. But then he saw it, orange, blazing and intense. Not a sunset or circuit lights, fire. Panic set in as Grosjean wondered where the flames would hit him first and how agonizing the burns would be. At first, he was afraid and confused, and fear gave way to resignation, with him accepting the fact that he was going to die. The 2020 season was affected by the pandemic. The absence of fans in the stands was quite new, making the drivers feel different from when they had all the stands of people cheering them on. However, on November 29th of 2020, Formula One fans watched eagerly on their TVs as the final couple of races of the season were approaching the end, with Lewis Hamilton dominating the season. Little did anyone know that this race would add a chapter to the dark history of Formula One history. The race began as usual. Verstappen was off the line, determined to do well in the race, but Perez was coming in fast on the inside of Verstappen. A few minutes into the race, with Grosjean still gunning to gain more ground, a hush fell on the racetrack. Lewis Hamilton, who had secured a pole position, witnessed a terrifying crash from his car. There are certain moments where silence falls on a racetrack, and you know what that means. You can't do anything. You're just a passenger to this. The world seems to be coming down on you. Once you see fire, that's the worst thing you can have. The horrors of past crashes of Formula One history resurfaced with the Bahrain crashes. It had been decades since a terrifying crash like that. Even more shocking was the car splitting in two after a barrier-shattering impact that tore off a guardrail and then proceeded to erupt in flames. The incident echoed Niki Lauda's incident, which occurred at the German Grand Prix on August 1st of 1976. Lauda was already leading the championship at that time, and all of a sudden he lost control of his Ferrari on the second lap of the race. Lauda's incident was infamous for its brutality, and also because he had to endure being trapped for 55 agonizing seconds. Fortunately, Lauda was able to escape, but not without severe burns to his head and hands, as well as inhaling hot toxic gas that damaged his lungs and blood. For Grosjean, his Haas was going at 119 miles an hour with a huge 76 Gs of force when the crash happened. The crash unfolded like a disastrous repetition of the past. The car split into two, caught fire, and then was stuck between twisted metal sheets. Like a haunting echo of Lauda's incident, he was trapped and confused as the inferno began to build up. This incident never should have happened, especially in the current age, but it did happen, despite taking precautions after the Lauda incident. On the outside, the front part of the vehicle had been wedged tightly between the guardrail, compounding the nightmare. Drivers and spectators were in shock, and with bated breath, they watched and waited. The race was immediately red flagged. Red flag, there's a big incident. Red flag. Could we slow down, please? Fuck. This was a big one. Is he okay? And just after 28 seconds of being stuck and afraid, Grosjean walked out of the inferno. In his interview with Sky, he mentioned that although it took just 28 seconds, it felt like a lifetime. In the middle of the chaos, FIA doctor Ian Roberts jumped into action, arriving just in time in the medical car. Roberts rushed toward the flames, assisting a marshal with a fire extinguisher. Roberts would later recount that the fire extinguisher helped just enough to push the fire back while helping the French driver escape from the wreckage. Grosjean played a vital role in his own rescue. He managed to unbuckle himself from the seatbelt and climb out of the cockpit. While the intense heat and flames raged on, his determination to survive, combined with the rapid response of the medical team, undoubtedly saved his life. It was such a shocking image to see, Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton said after the victory. His car, the cockpit, I didn't know what G's he pulled, but I'm just so grateful that the halo worked. I'm grateful the barrier didn't slice his head off. It could have been so much worse. The halo device helped save Grosjean's life by protecting his head. And despite suffering second-degree burns on his hands and on his left foot, he survived with a shoe missing. The crash cast a huge shadow over the rest of the race, causing a delay of over an hour while the barriers were being repaired. After the crash, he was airlifted to the hospital, where burns on his head and feet were treated. He underwent surgery and spent several days in the hospital recovering. The drivers all found it hard to stay focused on the race as they waited for news about their colleague who had been rushed to the hospital, but everyone felt a wave of relief after receiving a video call with Grosjean. During the call, Grosjean credited the halo for saving his life. Before the crash, he was a great critic of the halo and its purpose. After the experience, he became an activist for the halo, talking about how the halo saved his life. The halo is a titanium bar that extends from the cockpit of a racing car, hovering over the driver, and in the event of a car crash, it helps in protecting the driver's head from fatal injuries. This same halo was credited for saving Grosjean's life, as it prevented his head from being injured by metals from the crash. Grosjean said, quote, "If not for the halo, I wouldn't be here," adding that the halo is the, quote, "greatest thing that has happened to Formula One safety." He also spoke about how the crash has given him a new perspective on life and made him more grateful for each moment that he spends with family, especially his children. According to him, thinking about his children increased his willingness to get out of that fire and be with them. Before the crash, the halo was seen as a controversial device since it was introduced. Even top drivers like Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, and Verstappen criticized the aesthetic impact, with Verstappen calling the halo abused DNA of F1. However, Grosjean's crash showed these critics just how important it is for driver safety, even with its aesthetic disadvantages. Despite how severe the car crash was, Grosjean made a remarkable recovery and was able to return to racing just a few months later. The experience from that incident made him realize how much risk is involved in an F1 race. He developed a great respect for the sport and those who tirelessly work to ensure safety for drivers and fans alike. His experience in Formula One might have indirectly influenced his driving style, as most fans noticed him to be more cautious and calculated while being on track. Some fans speculated that his fresh perspective affected his choice to join the IndyCar circuit in 2021. When Romain Grosjean made the switch to IndyCar, it raised some eyebrows and left fans wondering about his reasons for leaving F1. At the end of the 2020 season, Haas decided to part ways with Romain Grosjean. In 2021, Haas announced that Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin as their drivers for the season, while Grosjean was preparing to transition over to IndyCar. Transitioning from F1 to the IndyCar circuit is not necessarily a step back, but rather a lateral move that has its own set of obstacles. IndyCar provided Grosjean an opportunity to compete on a more level playing field, where the driver's skill is valued over the car's performance. In an interview, he stated the reason for switching to IndyCar was because he wanted to race in a championship where he could compete for podiums and win constantly. Grosjean has showed remarkable promise since his IndyCar debut, catching fans and attention with his driving skills and tenacious ability. In his first season with IndyCar, he won the pole position and finished on the podium many times. The transfer seems to be going well for Grosjean in terms of finding a new attempt in proving himself in a different racing environment. While his brush with death ended up being another opportunity to enjoy the things he loved the most, the crash still raises concerns. For one, the car went through the barrier easily, like a knife through butter. How did the car manage to do that? Was it a result of poor construction of the barrier, or was it the car design? According to Toto Wolff, the angle at which the car crashed must have been so precise for it to have gone through the barrier, but there's still a need for an investigation into the matter, especially concerning the fire. What caused the vehicle to erupt in flames, and even the car splitting in two? Was it the result of oversight during construction? The scary part, what if Grosjean had been unconscious and unable to escape the burning car? How quickly would the marshals have been able to put out the fire and save him? According to Braun, there's going to be a deep analysis into the incident that occurred, and none of them should have happened in the first place. If you agree with Braun, share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, like this video and subscribe to DRS Speed Hunters channel for more action-filled content. We'll see you in the next video.